Hello everyone, welcome to Tobin Team YouTube channel. So today we will be understanding Plato's The Republic Book 10. Plato is a great thinker. He wrote a book called The Republic. In book 10, he talks about art, poetry and a big idea called mimesis. Mimesis means imitation, okay? He says that art and poetry are like mirrors that show what people see in the world, but they do not show the real truth. Plato believes that poets and artists only copy what they see. For example, if a painter draws a bed, it's just a picture of a bed, not the real bed. He says that art is far from reality because it doesn't create anything new, it only imitates what already exists. He explains that everything in the world comes from a perfect idea made by God or nature. For example, the idea of a bed is made by God. A carpenter makes a real bed based on that idea, but an artist or poet only copies the bed with paint or words, so their work is even farther from the truth. Plato thinks that poets and artists can confuse people. They show things that are not real, and people might believe them. He says that art can make people emotional, but it doesn't help them think clearly or learn the truth. According to Plato, poetry can be dangerous because it plays with emotions like sadness, happiness, or fear. He says that people who listen to poems or watch plays might lose control of their feelings instead of focusing on what is good and right. Plato believes that philosophers are better than poets because they seek the truth. A philosopher looks for the real knowledge and tries to understand life. Poets, on the other hand, only try to entertain people. He says that poets often glorify bad behavior in their stories, making heroes out of villains. This can mislead people into thinking that bad behavior is acceptable. Plato suggests that in a perfect society, poets and artists should be controlled or even banned if they don't help people learn what is true or good. However, Plato also says that some forms of art can be helpful if they teach people to be good and wise. He believes that art should serve a purpose and make people better, not just entertain them. In the end, Plato's message is that we should be careful with art and poetry. We should always look for the truth behind what we see or hear and not be tricked by beautiful but false things. Plato also talks about justice and goodness. He believes that true art should help people understand what is right and wrong. Poetry and stories should teach moral values instead of making people emotional for no reason. According to him, people should learn from stories and become better human beings. He compares life to a shadow on a wall. He says that most people only see shadows of real things, not the truth. Poets and artists show these shadows, but philosophers search for the real truth. That's why he thinks philosophy is more important than poetry. Plato says that imitation can sometimes make people behave badly. For example, if people see a hero in a story doing something wrong, they might think it's okay to behave the same way. He warns that bad role models in stories can influence people to do unjust things. Plato also talks about the soul. He believes that people have a rational soul that helps them think and make good decisions. Art and poetry, he says, can confuse the soul by making people focus on emotions instead of reason. He thinks this is dangerous. He says that good poetry should guide the soul towards the truth. If a story helps people understand justice, goodness, and wisdom, it is useful. If it only entertains people without teaching them anything important, it's not helpful. Plato thinks that stories and poems can be like medicine for the soul if they teach good lessons. But if they spread lies or bad behavior, they can be like poison that harms people's minds. He also believes that music and art can shape people's character. If children grow up listening to good music or reading good stories, they will become better people. But if they are exposed to violent or immoral stories, they might learn bad habits. Okay, so Plato suggests that leaders in society should control what kind of art and poetry people see. He thinks that only good and truthful stories should be allowed because they help people become wise and just. He also says that tragedies should make people think deeply about life and human nature. not just make them cry. A good tragedy should help people understand their emotions and become stronger and wiser. In the end, Plato's message is that art and poetry should be useful tools to teach truth, justice, and goodness. If they don't help people learn these things, they are not worth having in society.